Towering above the Welsh landscape, these majestic peaks have borne witness to thousands of years of human history. Snowdonia National Park is more than just a picturesque landscape, it's a living timeline of ancient civilizations, industrial revolutions and environmental renewal. But what actually lies ahead for this iconic land? This is a story of the history and incredible journey of Snowdonia, a place that has been shaped by the forces of nature, the resilience of its people, and the evolving relationship between humans and the environment. As we traverse these rugged peaks, lush valleys and historical landmarks, we'll uncover how this land was actually shaped over millennia, from the first hunter-gatherers who roamed its forests to the booming slate industry that scarred its hillsides. Along the way, we'll confront the challenges Snowdonia faces in our modern world and the impact of our own presence as visitors. What can we actually learn from its past and how can we actually ensure its future? Our journey begins around 6000 BCE, when early human settlers first arrived in what we now know as Snowdonia. These were the first people to step foot on this untamed wilderness following the retreat of the glaciers at the end of the last ice age. This was a land unlike the one that we actually see today. A vast expanse of dense oak, birch, hazel forests blanketing the valleys and the slopes. Rivers fed by the melting glaciers carved their way through the terrain, forming pristine lakes. The people of this era were nomadic hunter-gatherers, relying entirely on natural resources around them for survival. Herds of aurochs, which are actually the wild ancestors of the modern cattle, roamed the forest alongside red deer, wild boar, wolves, and lynx. These early inhabitants moved with the seasons, tracking game and foraging for nuts, berries, and plants. They built temporary shelters using branches, hides, and other materials gathered from their surroundings. Evidence suggests they may have used controlled fire to clear patches of the forest, encouraging the growth of certain plants or creating actual better hunting grounds. While the impact on the land was minimal compared to later periods, these activities slowly began to shape the environment. Rivers provided fish, fresh water, and natural pathways for travel, leading most settlements to cluster along the coasts and the waterways. In Snowdonia, the footprints of these people may be faint, but the presence actually marked the beginning of humanity's relationship with this remarkable land. A relationship that would evolve dramatically over time. As we move forward to the Neolithic period around 4000 BCE, a significant transformation occurred in Snowdonia. The nomadic lifestyle of the era before gave way to settled farming communities, marking the dawn of agriculture. For the first time, humans began altering the landscape in more permanent ways. Dense forests still dominated the region, but early farmers started clearing the areas for crops and livestock. These clearances were small at first, patches of fertile land near rivers and valleys, but they marked a significant shift. The people of this era cultivated wheat and barley, and they domesticated animals such as the cattle, sheep, and goats. This new way of life allowed communities to actually grow, and with it came permanent dwellings made of timber, stone, and thatch. The shift from hunting to farming had profound consequences for Snowdonia's wildlife. These large wild animals like the aurochs and wild boar saw their inhabitants shrink as forests were cleared for agriculture. Wolves and lynx, the once apex predators of the region, began to decline as they were actually hunted to protect the livestock. By the end of the Neolithic period, Snowdonia had begun its transformation from a wild, untouched wilderness to a land shaped by human hands, and this is a trend that would only accelerate in the centuries to come. With the arrival of the Bronze Age, Snowdonia entered a period of technological and social advancement. The discovery of metalworking revolutionized daily life, and copper mining became a major activity in the region. As mining grew, so did the demand for wood to fuel the smelting of copper and the production of bronze. Deforestation expanded, especially in the fertile valleys near the mining sites. The dense forests that once covered Snowdonia's lowlands were now in retreat, replaced by open pastures and farmland. Soil erosion became more common, and the landscape began to reflect the impact of human activity. Bronze Age communities lived in roundhouses, often clustered into small villages near water sources. These homes, built with stone and thatch, were more durable than the temporary shelters of early eras, reflecting the increasingly permanent nature of human settlements. Farming remained central to life. Cattle, sheep, pigs, and goats were raised for food, clothing, and trade. Meanwhile, the continued expansion of agriculture further displaced wildlife, pushing species like the red deer into remote, higher altitudes. This era was a time of resilience and resourcefulness as the people of Snowdonia adapted to the changing environment, setting the stage for an even greater transformations to come. When the Romans arrived in Britain, they brought with them military might, advanced engineering and insatiable appetite for resources. Snowdonia, with its rugged terrain and rich mineral deposits, was a natural target. The Romans established forts in and around Snowdonia. To connect these forts, they built a network of roads that traversed the region, opening up previously isolated areas. These roads not only facilitated the movement of troops, but also trade and cultural exchange between the Romans and the local tribes. Mining expanded under Roman rule. Copper and lead extraction, although already present during the Bronze Age, intensified as the Romans tapped into Snowdonia's resources. This industrial activity accelerated deforestation, altered landscapes, and created lasting scars on the environment. Roman influence extended beyond infrastructure. Settlements grew around the forts, and Roman goods like the pottery, coin, and tools began to circulate. However, the occupation also led to conflict. The local tribe fiercely resisted Roman control, engaging in guerrilla warfare in Snowdonia's mountainous terrain. By the time the Romans left Britain in the 5th century, Snowdonia had been fundamentally changed. Their infrastructure and mining legacy would influence the region for centuries, leaving a landscape marked by both human ingenuity and exploitation. The fall of the Roman Britain gave way to a turbulent era, as Snowdonia became a battleground for competing kingdoms and cultures. In the centuries following the Romans' departure, Snowdonia evolved into a heartland of Welsh resistance against invaders. Its mountainous terrain provided a natural fortress for the native Welsh princes, who sought to defend their lands from Saxons, Normans, and later the English crown. By the 13th century, Snowdonia had become synonymous with the Principality of Gwent, the stronghold of the Welsh rulers. Llewellyn the Last emerged as one of the most significant figures of this era, striving to unite Wales under his leadership. His efforts concluded in a conflict with Edward I of England, who sought to subdue Wales and bring it under English rule. Edward's conquest of Wales in the late 13th century left an indelible mark on Snowdonia. To secure his dominance, Edward embarked on a monumental castle-building campaign, constructing formidable fortresses such as the ones at Conway. These castles, part of Edward's Iron Ring, were not just military strongholds but symbols of the English authority over the Welsh people. Yet the spirit of the rebellion endured. As in the early 15th century, there was a major Welsh uprising that continued to resist the English rule. Snowdonia's rugged peaks and hidden valleys became refuge for rebel forces, and legends of this resistance linger in the region's folklore. The 18th and 19th centuries brought dramatic changes to Snowdonia, as the Industrial Revolution swept across Britain. For Snowdonia, this era was defined by the rise of the slate industry, which transformed the region into one of the world's leading suppliers of the roofing material. Quarries sprang up across the landscape, with places like Llanberis becoming a major hub for the slate production. Towering spoil heaps, tramways, quarry buildings redefined the terrain, creating a stark contrast between the natural beauty of the surrounding mountains. By the mid-19th century, the slate industry employed thousands of workers and exported its products worldwide, covering roofs from homes from London all the way to New York. Life in quarries was harsh. Workers toiled long hours in dangerous conditions, often exposed to rock dust that led to respiratory diseases. Despite these hardships, the slate communities developed a strong sense of identity and resilience. The workers formed unions to fight for better wages and conditions, and their chapels became centres of social and cultural life, hosting Welsh cultural festivals that celebrated poetry, music and art. While the slate industry brought prosperity to some, it also took a toll on the environment. Hillsides were scarred, rivers polluted, ecosystems disrupted. Yet, the industry also forged a deep connection between the people and the land, as generations of families worked the quarries and passed down their traditions. Today, the legacy of the slate industry is recognised as part of Snowdonia's cultural heritage. In 1921, the region's slate landscape was designated a World Heritage Site, a testament to its global significance and its enduring impact of this era. The 20th century saw Snowdonia take on a new role, not as a centre of industry, but as a haven for nature and recreation. In 1951, Snowdonia was designated as Wales's first national park, protecting its breathtaking landscapes and rich cultural heritage for future generations. This milestone marked a turning point in the region's history as conservation and tourism became central to its identity. The park's creation was driven by a growing awareness of the need to preserve the natural environment in the face of industrialization and urbanization. Snowdonia's mountains, valleys, and coastlines were recognized not only for their beauty but also for their ecological importance. Conservation efforts focused on protecting native species, restoring habitats, and promoting sustainable land use. However, the shift to a tourism-based economy brought new challenges. Millions of visitors flocked to Snowdonia each year to climb its peaks, hike its trails, and experience its history. While tourism provides a vital income for the local communities, it also places pressure on the environment. Popular trails like the ones leading up to Mount Snowdon suffer from erosion, while increased traffic and litter impact the region's fragile ecosystems. In recent years, Snowdonia has become a hub for outdoor sports, cultural festivals, and creative industries, blending tradition with innovation. The people of Snowdonia continue to draw on their rich heritage, adapting to the demands of the modern world while honouring the legacy of their ancestors.